and a very warm welcome to all our viewers from around the world on ESPN Cricket Info Match Day. We are building up to the first game of the tournament proper, if you like. We've already had a qualifying stage of sorts. It's not been called the qualifying stage, but that's really what it was. Ian Chappell is joining me, former Australian captain, has made the trip to enjoy some T20 cricket over in India. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Gaurav.
And Ajit Agarkar doesn't live very far from here, but it takes him a very long time to get over to the studio. It was a long flight in for Ian and a long drive in for Ajit Agarkar. Well, we're not very far, as I said, from the first ball of the tournament, India versus New Zealand. But we're going to talk today with Ian and Ajit about what we are likely to see in this tournament. Now, T20 cricket's been around for a little while. It's been played for the last 10 years. We've had 5 World T20 tournaments, but there's some trends that you always notice in the game. Ajit, Ian, from your point of view, what's the one big thing that you're looking out for this tournament?
Well, I think you've got to take wickets on a regular basis. I think, particularly against the stronger teams. If you've got main batsmen still in with 5 overs to go, you're in big trouble. We saw that in the 50-over World Cup. How many runs were scored in those last 10 overs? I think there's the same thing here. If you're not getting wickets regularly and getting down into the lower order batsmen for those last few overs, you're in trouble. Yeah,
it was never meant to be a bowler's game, and suddenly it is.
I think
playing the wrong time, Ajit.
No, I mean, I'm sure we'll get some good pitches during the course of this tournament. In Bangladesh, the Asia Cup showed some good pitches which helped bowling and made made it a bit more of a contest. Hopefully, that's the case through this tournament as well. Spin might have a bigger part to play as things progress. The country everywhere is starting to get a bit warmer, and the pitches might have something to do.
Right. Now, one of the other aspects of cricket when it's played in India, and we see a lot of IPL, T20 cricket here, and we see lots of 4s, lots of 6s, and so you naturally assume come to this part of the world and you're going to get lots of runs. Well, is that really the case? Let's put some numbers up and maybe surprise Ian Chappell, who's seen a lot of things in cricket, but maybe this one will surprise him. Look at that, Ian. In Asia, over the last 2 years, this is since the World T20 in Bangladesh, the strike rates are actually lower for batsmen than outside of Asia, and it's taking more innings for batsmen to score 50 plus. So it's actually, on the evidence of those numbers, harder to bat in Asia than it is outside Asia in the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, I guess there could be 2 parts to that. Yes, what you're saying, it's harder to score runs in Asia, perhaps because it's turning a little bit more. But also it could be that the guys have learned how to bowl when the pitch is helping them a little bit, particularly the spinners helping them. So it's perhaps a bit of a two-edged sword.
Yeah, we're seeing some of the more sort of explosive batsmen in the world in action. But have you seen that there's been a little bit more tactical improvement from bowlers about bowling in these conditions? They've learned to restrict guys at the top of the order?
I mean, you'd have to do that to survive. I mean, every team has guys who bat till, well, the batting order goes on till about 8, 9, 10. Everyone can come and hit a 6. So you'll have to find ways. It helps if the ball grips the surface a little bit, which it tends to do, at least in India. Bangladesh was a different story, so those numbers might have helped that as well.
Yes.
Power play batting was a little bit difficult because there was help for seamers. So as long as there's a little bit in it for the bowlers, it will always make the task that much more, well, not difficult, but harder for the batsman to score off, because you want to preserve your wickets at the start as well.
All right, so let's actually have a look at how batsmen are going in power plays, and that also throws us, well, an interesting talking point, at least if nothing else. Yes, Ajit makes the point about how there were some spicy wickets in Asia, and soon we should have those numbers up on screen about how guys have done in the power play overs. Now, once again, Ajit, this is an interesting little contrast. I mean, the averages are strikingly different. It's under 25 in Asia, whereas outside Asia it's nearly 42, and it's taking many more deliveries, or well, substantially more deliveries to be hitting boundaries and 6s. So I mean, in the power play as well, it seems like in these conditions the bowlers aren't just sort of cannon fodder.
Yes, I mean the numbers are clearly showing. I mean there's a vast difference. I didn't think there'd be such a difference in the numbers. Maybe it's got to do with something what Australia dished out to India, some really good batting pitches. But spin's got to be one of the main reasons. I think taking pace of the ball has obviously made it harder for the batsman to start playing the big shots when the ball comes on. It's easier to find the gaps, use the pace. So that's got to be one major reason, but it's startling, those numbers.
Yes, in fact, if you mentioned the bit about spin, let's actually try and establish that with those numbers, and Ian can get into the conversation. It is actually the spinners who've done quite well in these power play overs. A lot of captains using them with the new ball. I wonder if Ian Chappell would have tried a spinner with the new ball when he had Lilly and Thompson at his disposal. But in Asia, look at that, Ian, a lot of spin at the top. The average is very good. Outside Asia, you don't obviously see it. We'll also get a list of the spinners who've done well. You know, the usual suspects, Shakib, Ashwin, Samuel Badri, who does a job for the West Indies. But yes, spin with the new ball.
Yeah, I mean, I am shocked at some of those numbers. But also, the other thing that I've noticed is that leg spinners are starting to have a much more impact, a positive impact in T20 cricket.
Yeah, just to interrupt you, that Samuel Badri is a leg spinner right on top of that list, Ian.
Yeah, no, it's, Australia we've been struggling since Shane Warne to find a leg spinner. Now there's a couple coming through. Adam Zampa's in the T20 side. There's a young kid called Mitch Swepson who I think is going to be quite good. But Australia, who used to have a lot of leg spinners, suddenly there was none around. Now we're starting to find a few again. And I've been really impressed with the way the leg spinners have been able to fool batsmen and pick up quite a lot of wickets.
So is Smith, who's a kind of leg spinner himself, do you think he'd be tempted to bowl with one of these guys with the new ball, given the evidence that we are seeing?
Smith's a brave captain. I've seen him, when he came over here, going back to the Champions League. In fact, he played in that New South Wales side that won the first Champions League. I think they beat Trinidad in the final. And I've got a feeling that Smith might have bowled in either the first or the second over. He wasn't captain then. He doesn't bowl as much now. I don't think he'll use himself, but I wouldn't be surprised if he used a spinner. And just looking at those stats we had up there a minute ago, Maxwell has been very, very successful, surprisingly successful in those power play overs.
Yeah, that list will go up again. Just Ajit, a rider with this, that this is the power play in the first innings of the game, because obviously when you come in the second innings, you know what your target is, so you approach innings slightly differently. But finger spinners there, a big role for them. Does that surprise you with the new ball, a finger spinner making an impact? Look, Shakib in there, Ashwin, Arafat, Sunny?
Yeah, but you're talking about two really, really good spinners in Ashwin and Shakib. No, not really. I mean, the pitches, if there is any sort of assistance, there will. I mean, the trend generally, having played a lot in India, is once the shine's off the ball a little bit, as a seamer, you almost can do different things with it. New ball, you try and bowl conventionally, it doesn't do much of the surface. And the new ball tends to, with a harder seam, a harder ball sometimes tends to grip. And Ashwin's, not just for India, but otherwise in other T20 cricket has found a way to bowl on these pitches really well.
What's the world come to here, Ian? Spin bowlers opening the bowling in a cricket match.
Well, it's not a new thing. My grandfather told me many, many years ago, he said, don't think you're ever going to come up with new tactics. He said, it's like your suit. You hang on to it long enough, it comes back into fashion. But you go back with Australia, Grimmett, O'Reilly, those folks used to open the bowling quite regularly. So it's, as Vic told me, it's just coming back into fashion now.
How old is that one?
I've had this one since about 1960.
Okay. We'll test
I told you to come back into fashion. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ajit Agarkar, for making the journey, and for Ian Chappell for making the journey as well. With us, Ajit as well as Ian throughout the tournament. Remember, it's ESPN Cricket Info Match Day, 7 p.m. on Sony ESPN, also across the world on ESPN Cricket Info. Join us for all the coverage right here. Thank you so much for watching.